Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Truth is Stranger Than Fiction. I have on the other side of this thing we call planet Earth a young man, a superstar on the alternative media, Mr. Peakay. Truth. Peakay, how the devil are you?
You sure you got the right guy? Yeah, if you're referring to me, I'm really well, except for this bloody cough that I can't get rid of. Yeah, I'll get into that in a second, but I'm feeling a bit weird at the moment because looking outside, I saw something today I haven't seen for a long, long time. Do you want to know what that is?
Go on, tell me.
Yeah, I think it's the sun. I'm not sure, but I think it could be the sun. There's a little bit of a blue patch out there, but anyway. I don't know if you're aware what's happened in Melbourne 2 weeks ago. We had this thing called Thunderstorm Asthma.
Hang on, Thunderstorm Asthma, right? I do follow your videos, but I haven't followed that particular video. Assuming you've done one and you've got some research on it. What's going on?
All right, let's get into Thunderstorm. That's something I've never heard of before in my entire life. As you know, if you don't know, we have 4 seasons in one in Melbourne. We had our first warm day. Was the second last day of November, I think. Something like that. Oh, it was a bit earlier than that. Anyway, what we have is normally a cool change most times, a day or two after a warmish day. It was no thunderstorm as such, but I woke up in the morning and it was all the big news that a lot of people were rushed to hospital. A couple of people had died from this it's been around apparently. There's a few articles on it, but I'd never heard of it, Thunderstorm Asthma. And it turned out within a week, 8 people ended up dying and 8,500 people were somehow affected by it. And they weren't actually people that had asthma. It was just anyone. There was one story of a young woman, 21-year-old, only a few minutes from where I live. She was on the front lawn with her uncle and Archie waiting for an ambulance. And I would have thought she was an asthmatic, and I would have thought if you got an asthma problem, you wouldn't be sitting on the front lawn waiting for an ambulance. 31 minutes they waited, but I think she died before the ambulance turned up. I mean, if it was me, I would have taken her straight to the hospital or, put her inside. But the story goes, I went to the funeral with a few friends just to see what it was like. And it was massive. It was about 500 people there, and it looked pretty real, but who knows. But anyway, cut it short. It's apparently something to do with the pollen in the air. The northerly winds blew the pollen and expanded and got into people's throats. And, I can't believe how people would be in hospital for over 7 days and end up dying because of it. But what's happening now, the video I made, I believe it's completely a chemtrail attack, bio-warfare. It had to come sooner or later with what they've been spraying over how many years. And this is just a cop-out for people to believe that it's something to do with pollen. And the thing about it, only 3 days ago, the same thing. We were warned. We had a fairly warmish day. It was a bit of a change. We were warned about thunderstorm asthma, so it looks like that's the buzzword now, thunderstorm asthma. But, as I made a video yesterday, in Kuwait in the Middle East, nowhere near Australia, they had a thunderstorm asthma last week. I'm not sure if they got pollen issues there. It's pretty desert land there in Kuwait, but I think 7 people died and so many, same sort of thing. So that's how does that, how could you have thunderstorm asthma in Kuwait? So it looks like it's going to be coming to your door soon. So be prepared for thunderstorm asthma.
Well,
that's it.
It's really interesting. I bounced between London and the south coast of Spain. And whilst in London on my last trip there, clearly flying across, I could see planes dropping something out of the back of their one for a better term, their exhaust. Okay, and then down on the ground, I could see planes going across the sky with white streams behind them. So this thing about chemtrails is, for me, very real. People call me a nut because I believe that there are chemicals being dropped on this planet by planes that I don't know where they're coming from. But even in the south coast of Spain, because the skies are generally so clear, you can clearly see 5 planes going across the ecliptic of the sun and the moon, right? And I've got a friend called Ole Damagard, who's a researcher, great guy, saw him last night, and he's done a lot of research into this, and the planes come from Portugal back over to the south coast and back over again. So there is something going on, isn't there, PK? What is it? 'Cause who's doing this? Why are they doing it? And what's the general effect?
Well, people don't probably realise this, but chemtrails was the thing that I actually started doing my YouTube channel on. That's the only thing I did 5 years ago. Yeah, 5 years ago, I exposed, when I say probably the first in Australia, worldwide, I exposed major airlines spraying over Melbourne. Then I exposed them spraying over the major cities in Australia. And we could determine using a flight radar site on the internet what the actual airline was, and even what the registration number is and what have you, and what height they were at. Anyway, this was 5 years ago, and I did this for nearly 2 years. That's all I was interested in. And I made probably 200 videos on it, which my channel was deleted or removed by YouTube, my original channel, PK22. So right now, I've said it a few times in the last week, that I'm going to make a concerted effort to put all those chemtrail videos up, especially in light of what's happening with this Thunderstorm Asthma, because there's not many people that I notice that are showing chemtrail videos at the moment. There was a bit of a surge after. I mean, I'm not going to big note myself, but some people call me the father of the chemtrail movement here in Australia, and a lot of people followed me, and they were doing their own work on chemtrails, but I've noticed that it's pretty much died off. There was some sort of movements formed here in Australia, Melbourne against chemtrails, which I wasn't really a part of. I'm not sure how it's going and how the movement is going. I went on a sort of a rally in the city a couple of times, and there was about 40, 50 of us. No one wanted to know us. No, we were handing out leaflets. Everyone just walked past. They couldn't care less. And that's the thing about people. In those years, I was pointing out wherever I was walking to people when I saw a chemtrail. Have a look at that. People would say, "Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah, that's lovely. Really lovely." If only they knew. As far as what they're spraying, well, we all sort of know that it's toxic metals like barium, strontium, aluminium. Aluminium, as you know, is one of the main causes of Alzheimer's disease and respiratory problems. There's talk about other stuff like, who knows, lithium, and who knows what they're putting in now. There's even talk about how they're even making chemtrails invisible. They've got the technology now because as I've noticed, the spraying around Melbourne isn't as bad as it has been. It was years ago. It's not that I don't actually go out and look for it like I used to. It was a daily event for me. That's all I did every day. Me and a friend in Geelong, which is about 70 k's away, we worked in tandem. But there's other things. There's a thing called Morgellons disease, which has just come from. I assume it's come just recently. What that is they spray fibres which get into your skin. Once they get in your skin, you get this horrible itchy rash. And there was a story: a woman found a fibre in a body somewhere in Queensland, I remember, and they took it out, and it had the word. Can't remember what it was. I think it was NASA or some word like that on the actual fibre. So they spray fibre. There's this thing called we call chem webs, We've seen them along the grass, especially when we play golf in the morning. The people we've seen on the grass, just people say, "Oh no, that's just spider webs." It's not spider webs; it's just covered in chem webs. We see them floating down and on trees. So it's pretty nefarious what they're doing, and you ask, why are they doing it? Well, no one's really come out and told us why they're doing it because they don't want to talk about it. They keep saying, that they talk about it and they're planning to do geoengineering to stop global warming. That's the sort of thing that we're supposed to believe, that they're doing it to stop global warming, and that they're supposed to put in, I don't know what was the figure, 20 tons of this in the atmosphere before 2020 or something to that effect. But it's going to have the opposite effect in a way. It's going to create global cooling or mini ice age, I believe. But the other thing is obviously depopulation, and with this thunderstorm asthma, that could be the start of it. And people just dropping dead like flies, and obviously respiratory problems everywhere. Because Herschel, they don't want us healthy. There's no money in healthy people. It's all about keeping us sick, keeping cancer cures away from us. None of us should even get cancer, but now it's like 1 in 2, 1 in 3. It used to be 1 in 60, go back 80 years ago, but everyone expects to die from cancer now. It's just a given. We'll get cancer one day, we're going to die. But, none of us should die from cancer, and it's all about, as you know, big pharma. Plenty of dollars, big bucks.
Well,
Sorry.
Interesting stuff, right? So just going back to Morgellons disease, there's a researcher called, sorry, there's banging going on around the corner. It's just the way, this is life, right? But there is a researcher called Sophia Smallstorm, and she's done a lot of research into chemtrails and the link to synthetic biology, i.e. Morgellons disease. And that's really interesting that you bring that up, Peakay. And there's even rumours that there's arsenic being dropped. And my feeling on that is, if they're dropping lithium, strontium and other chemicals on us, that they pretty much want to control us. They want to keep us dumbed down so we don't revolt, and they want to make sure that the population does not grow too much. This is eugenics, isn't it? It really is. It takes us back to the early ideologies of the far right wing, and this is eugenics taking place today, on you, on me, and on our children.
Just another thing. I was actually going to make a video on this today. We're known here in Melbourne or Victoria as the sporting state of the world, or the garden state, but more so the fire state. And it's just amazing how as soon as we get a hot day, like it's been a very, very, very cold spring, it's like a continuation of winter. And even now it's not even summer. It's summer, but it doesn't feel like it. But as soon as we get a hot day, fires seem to start. Just for some reason, fires seem to start. I mean, we go back, 6 years, something like that. We had this horrendous day called Black Saturday, where it got to 42 degrees in Fahrenheit. That's like 105, 106, something like that. It was a horrendous day, and just so happened in Victoria there was like 6 fires started all virtually at the same time. And I don't believe fires just start like that. And it's not like arsonists just want to light fires. I think it was. I hate to say it, but it was. Well, I'm not going to say a government did it, but it was something to. It was done on purpose, and it wasn't bushfires like we've known throughout history. It was like an inferno. Went through a small town. It just went whoosh and wiped off the whole town within minutes. And the reason that's happening is because of the spraying of the chemtrails. Virtually all our forests and all the trees anywhere, nature, it's all covered in the inflammable metals, coming down. So all our nature is covered by whatever metals, strontium, barium, lithium, you name it. So any ignition of anything would just start a massive inferno. It's like a time bomb waiting to go off, and that's why I believe these fires are just starting all the time, and they're not like they used to be. They're just like infernos, and that's one of the things. It's all about fear, mate. It's all about fear.
It is.
Like
right.
I said, they don't want us to go out because of Thunderstorm Asthma. There's a reason for that. They don't want us to go out because we'll get skin cancer. They crap on how we're the melanoma capital of the world and the sun is bad for you. Don't go out in the sun. The sun's been there for 1 billion years, whatever. And it's not all of a sudden that we're getting skin cancer because of the sun. But they might lie about holes in the ozone layer and this, all garbage. They don't want you to go out and get your vitamin D because, as you should know, without vitamin D we're nothing. And most people who die from cancer are usually vitamin D deficient. So we have to go out in the sun and get our 20 minutes of vitamin D. But they don't want us to do this. There's a campaign. There's nothing good about a suntan. What a lot of baloney. I even heard some idiot today say, make sure you get your slip, slop, slap. Don't know what that is. Slip, slop, slap is, sunscreen. Put that carcinogenic stuff on you. That's what causes any sort of skin cancer we might get. The fact is, people that get skin cancer, I mean, you look at the people in the north of Australia, the Aborigines, they're dark skinned. None of them have cancer. The tribes in South Africa, the warmer places, they don't have cancer. It just so happens that the cooler places, south of Australia and England, the people who don't go out in the sun much, when they do, they get burned they get sunburned. But instead of going out to naturally use the sun to do its natural healing, they hide themselves in the shade for a month, don't go outside, and that's where the lesions form. That's where you get melanoma. That's where you get skin cancer. So the fact is they don't want us to go out. That's it. And plus the other thing, they don't want us to go out because we're going to get killed by an ISIS terrorist, either beheaded or killed, attacked by a knife.
Well,
it's really fear, mate.
Peakay, it's really interesting what you talk about when you talk about the weather. So the same is happening on the south coast of Europe, okay? So the spring is starting later, the summers are shorter, and the winters are getting longer, okay? They're getting longer. Huge amount of rain in the south coast of Europe over the last couple of weeks. Huge amount of rain. And things are changing, and people are scared. They're absolutely petrified. They're petrified that they're going to, as you say, get cancer. They're going to be shot by an ISIS terrorist. People talk in the south coast of Spain. What if ISIS come across over from Africa because it's only across the water? It's crazy. We're drilled inside of us to be scared from the moment that we go to school into the workplace and out into society. Fear, 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 and it's BS.
100%. I could get on to ISIS if you like.
Let's talk about it. I've been doing a bit of work
on that.
Yeah, let's talk about ISIS because it's just an absolute scam. But tell me more.
I'll look quickly. What's going on in Iraq? I only learnt this a month ago, and I've made a few videos about it. Mosul. Do you know the story about Mosul?
Go on.
All right, I'll try to make it as brief as possible. This is the most laughable thing you will ever hear. As you know, Iraq is virtually controlled by the USA, okay? They took it over. I don't know how many thousands of soldiers they still got there. I know there are at least 10 US Army bases there, and one just happens to be in Mosul, okay? We got ISIS. Who are ISIS? I don't know. They're not from a country. How they formed is beyond me. Apparently, they're radicalised people online throughout the world, 14-year-olds. I'm still yet to find a website to find out how to be radicalised. I don't know where they get radicalised online, but they seem to just get on a plane and somehow join ISIS. Where do they go? I don't know. They go to Syria, do they? when they get to Syria at Damascus airport, what do? Do they go to the customs officer? They say, "Can you show me where ISIS is? Because I want to join ISIS." I don't know. Is there a bus out there waiting for them to take them to the ISIS headquarters? I don't know. Who is the leader? Oh, sorry, Big Al Baghdadi is the leader. That's right. That guy that he made a speech 2 years ago. Remember? Yes, and that's the last we've heard of him. But they said they've nearly killed him a few times. I remember the time they said about a year ago they were in a bunker having some meeting. They killed 10 people, but the 2 that weren't killed were injured were Big Al Baghdadi and Jihadi Johnny. How can we forget Jihadi Johnny?
Jihadi Johnny, got to love him.
But they went to hospital. They just happened to go to an Iraqi hospital. They were welcomed to a hospital, and they recovered. You know, no one wanted the CIA or the the U.S. Army went there to interrogate them or capture them, but no, they healed and went back to wherever to continue their work. Well, so they nearly killed him then. But anyway, the point I'm getting at, they're not a country, so how they form is beyond me. It's not like thousands of people just got together and says, yes, we're ISIS. I mean, they're going to come in drips and drabs. There's no skill, there's no training, there's no, they've got no weaponry, they've got flags and Toyotas, that's the thing. Okay, we'll cut it short.
Well, there is. Well, actually, let me jump in. There is some background, isn't there? Because Brzezinski did go over to Afghanistan in the 80s and talk to the tribesmen there. There's pictures, video of him, and they formed the CIA formed a list, and that list became known as Al Qaeda. There's some truth to that. No, from the Mujahideen.
Al Qaeda, where are they going? Anyway.
Well, that's right. They keep morphing into a new enemy: Al Qaeda, Mujahideen, ISIL, IS, ISIS. And it goes on and on and on. And you know what? I've never seen one of them. I've never seen one of those terrorist bastards ever in my life.
What about the Taliban? There's 100 Taliban in Afghanistan, and it's been 9 years there to kill these 100 Taliban. Anyway, back to Mosul. Let's go back to June the 4th, 2014, okay? 800 to 1,300 ISIS, somehow in their Toyota cars, came from wherever.
Yeah, they're sponsored by Toyota.
Yes, and they're wearing the Adidas runners, don't forget, in the desert warfare. They somehow drove 4 ISIS per Toyota, so you work out about... There's quite a few hundred Toyotas that NATO and its satellites couldn't spot. They couldn't take them out as they're driving in this great big cavalcade of Toyotas. That's another issue. Even though they could pinpoint my number plate. But they just came from wherever, I don't know, into Iraq. Meanwhile, Syria's got all their action going on. But they want to take Mosul for some reason, which is 1.8 million people, second biggest city in Iraq. They somehow went into there, wanted to take over Mosul. Like I said, 1.8 million people who obviously want to defend. You want to defend your city, obviously. But not only 1.8 million, there's 30,000 Iraqi soldiers there. You got that? There's 30,000 Iraqi soldiers. And we go back to the Gulf War when we were told there were 500,000 Iraqi soldiers, including the Republican Army, which were the greatest army the world's ever seen. They weren't all eliminated. I'm sorry. So anyway, I just get... Okay. Did you realise we've got 600 soldiers from Australia were sent to Iraq to train Iraqis to be soldiers? 600 Australian, costing us $1 million a day to train Iraqis to be soldiers. And people believe that. Anyway. So we got 30,000 Iraqis. Soldiers, trained soldiers, against 800 to 1,300, we'll say 1,000. Riff-raff. What happened on the first day, the leader of ISIS, can't remember his name, Al someone, of course, he blew himself up. Okay, so ISIS are leaderless, right? They got no leader. But in 4 days of supposed battle, they took over Mosul because you know why? The general of ISIS, of Iraqi soldiers, on the advice of a retired general, says we aren't good enough to beat 1,000 ISIS. 30,000 of us aren't good enough to beat 1,000 riffraff with Toyotas and flags, not including the 1.8 million people. The general said, run for your lives. So they ran the other way. So the 1,000 ISIS took over Mosul. And the people just says, okay, take over. So we're to believe for 2 years that ISIS, 1,000 people, ran Mosul. The infrastructure, the airports, the hospitals, you name it, the education. And not one single person in the Iraqi government did anything about it for 2 years, 4 months. But I'm not saying not just the Iraqis. Where was the Iraqis asking the US, the NATO, for little bit of help while this 6-day war was going on? No mention of any help from. We got 10 US army bases. What were they all doing? Story goes, all right, for 2 years they've been there. No one did anything about it. They decided 2 months ago, all of a sudden, okay, it's about time we took Mosul back from ISIS. This is the Iraqis and the USA, whoever. 100,000 troops made up of, I can't remember the names, what the Iraqis, whatever they are. Not the US or allies, just, the Iraqis. 100,000 decided to roll into Mosul, outside of Mosul, on their whatever they had, to take Mosul back. But guess what? The 1,000 ISIS, all of a sudden, are 15,000 ISIS. So in 2 years, 14,000 ISIS just rolled into Iraq, into Mosul, and no one did a thing about it. I used the comparison like 1,000 Mexicans went over the border to Chicago and took Chicago over, okay? Then in the next 2 years, 14,000 more Mexicans rolled into Chicago to build up the forces, whilst President Obama did nothing about it. That's exactly what's happened here. It is so freaking laughable. But it's been 2 months or more, and 100,000 still cannot do anything about getting these idiots out of Mosul. Well, and I'm showing video after video. It's the most laughable rubbish. There's never a battle. There's never, like I said, a battle. Anyone shooting each other, anyone being killed. We might see a few supposed ISIS idiots, being captured. It could be anyone. It could be anyone.
Hang on, Peaky, hang on. Let me just jump in there, right? When you were talking, I opened up Google and I put in, who is the leader of ISIS, right? And it comes up with Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. And there's a picture of him, right? It's like...
With John McCain.
Yeah, that's right. And I'll put it, I'll put the Google search on this video right now. So you get his name, you get his picture. Okay, it's like he's a superstar. If you're really famous on Google, you have a little box, don't you? It tells it says your name, your address, when you were born, and why you're famous. It's incredible. There he is, got glasses and a beard, and he looks like one of my next door neighbours. Absolutely fantastic that Google can pinpoint him. Yet, when these battles go on, no one can find them. No one can find Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan for 9 years, yet the heroin goes through the roof, doesn't it? Or the street value goes boom. So what you're saying to me is that what we are being delivered in the mainstream media is absolute BS, correct?
Absolute BS. And just on that Baghdadi, if you look at his image, there's not many of him. I mean, if you're a general, the greatest army the world's ever seen, you'd be hearing him make a bit of noise every second day. I mean, Hitler, I'm sure Hitler was, talking every day, whether it was on the media or whatever. But you don't hear from this guy. The only time he supposedly made some speech, I think it was around the time that Mosul got taken over. And the video that you see, there's not a single person in front of him. So it was just staged. But you'll see him wearing a watch and a gold ring. A no-no for supposed Muslims, apparently, gold rings and watches. So we know this guy's just a CIA operative, and you'll know this John McCain has met him a few times. So, but like I said, as Russian Vince has said, obviously there's some crap going on in Syria, and we know that's all about to oust Assad. And it was the article. I just made a video on it. How not only Australia sent 600 soldiers to train Iraqis to be soldiers. I mean, like 600 Australians have never been in battle, and we're supposed to be training Iraqis in desert warfare. But we sent over 2 jet fighters to do whatever bombing for 2 years, and it's costing us $1 million a day. They've done nothing. But apparently a few weeks ago or a month ago, they bombed, mistakenly, they bombed Assad's army, killed so many of Assad's people instead of ISIS, whatever. They bombed the wrong people. But exactly, they didn't bomb the wrong people because they don't want to kill ISIS because they are ISIS. They want to get rid of Assad. And so the media or the idiot in the Pentagon says, oh, yeah, they mistake. How can you mistakenly bomb the wrong people? I mean, give me a break. But like I said, there's a lot of crap going on. We're not seeing that. Obviously, there's a lot of crazies out there in the Middle East. But they're just showing this propaganda. That's what we see on the media. I don't know. They mix the two together. Why? They just show us the garbage, the acting garbage. But who knows? But it's not what's going on there. It's not what we're being shown.
Well, let's face it. They're bombing a path to Damascus. That's exactly what they're doing. The ISIS are trained by the West. They're supported militarily by the West. The guns are coming from the West and from the bankers, basically. And and the main sponsors are people like corporations like Toyota.
We could talk to you about warranties. We could tell you about industry awards and magazine articles, or the superior handling, the horsepower, the storage space. But let's be honest, you really just want to know one thing. Will it get the job done? The new Toyota Isis. Be a martyr to your cause, not your car. Toyota, we're good for jihad. Let's blow things up together.
And you made a reference to Hitler. Hitler was nothing more than exactly the same, right? Hitler was funded by the West. The money came from America. The oil came from America. And if they wanted to stop the Germans in the Second World War, they would have stopped steel production. And they didn't do it. They allowed Germany to build up an army so they could start a war, because this is the way the bankers work. They support both sides of the war, and they let the two sides kill each other. And we are the pawns in this chess game. Just read Brzezinski's book. All you've got to do, people, is open up your eyes, read, listen, and start to make an opinion rather than just taking what's on TV as the truth, because it's BS, all of it from start to finish. Everything you've ever thought you've ever understood about yourself is BS. Now wake up. But where do we go from here, Peakay?
Yeah, just a bit on that ISIS. It's amazing how these riffraff, radicalised, not only the greatest army the world's ever seen, but they seem to be able to take over oil fields and run them. They seem to be able, like I said, take over a city and run that. Not only that, they're building underground tunnels in the desert outside of Mosul for whatever reason, beyond me. They just seem to be experts on everything. It's amazing. 14-year-olds with no skill whatsoever should still be at school, but they seem to be, experts on everything, and we just can't get them.
These people are villagers, aren't they? Basically, they're defending their right to their religious heritage, but they're world-beating engineers. They're incredible soldiers. They can buy and sell oil. They can trade around the world, and they got political prowess. Hang on, come on. Is this real? Is this real? And people like John McCain are sitting down having lunch with them. Oh, come on, this leads us all the way back to the top echelons of the global politics. This is back to Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, the British, and even your bunch there in Australia, because they're all in it together.
So I want to know where they hide these Toyotas that they drove in on. Not only the 1,000 that came in, but the 14,000, they obviously didn't walk from across the border. They didn't walk in. They would have, sorry, thunderstorm asthma. Where are all these Toyotas? I mean, they must be somewhere, but every time we see footage of Mosul now, we just see a bare desert city with no people, no cars, nothing. There must be thousands of Toyotas somewhere. Where do these ISIS sleep? Did they just go into Mosul and say, I'll take over this place and sleep here for the night? Or where do they, live? Where do they feed themselves?
Because the Toyotas are absolutely brilliant cars. There's no doubt about it. The big Jeeps, I forget what they're called, but they still need maintenance, right? You still got to look after them, especially in a desert. Go on.
And driving through the desert, were there gas stations all the way through to fill them up as they came in? I don't know.
Well, it's amazing, and that's just the Jeeps, let alone the weaponry that needs maintenance. You need bullets. You need bullets coming in all the time, right? And you need to know how to shoot those guns, those rocket launchers. You don't just pick one up and go boom, off you go. You bring down a helicopter. You've got to have specific training.
But the laugh is apparently that weaponry was left behind from the Gulf War. So they just came in. Oh, there's a few rifles. We'll pick them up on the way to Mosul. It is just hilarious. I mean, the thing is, I'd make this comparison. Go back to World War II when you got the Third Reich, the greatest military ever. I don't know how many thousands of thousands when they went into Stalingrad, Leningrad. They outnumbered the Russians, 10-1, whatever, but they still couldn't take over a city, because to defend a city is a lot easier. You don't need as many numbers. But what we saw in Mosul, we had 1,000 defeat 30,000, a ratio of 30 to 1. I'm not including the 1.8 million population. But now we've got 100,000 that cannot get anywhere near take over 15,000. So what's going on here? And the thing is, in that 6-day battle, it's the what do you call it, the numbers, the casualties, 2,500 supposedly Iraqi soldiers were killed, and only 105 ISIS. You're telling me it's a 25 to 1 ratio in battle when you've got an army? I mean, I'm sure the Iraqi army's got better weaponry than ISIS has got. I mean, ISIS hasn't even got tanks to roll into a city. They've got Toyotas, for God's sake. They haven't got an air force. They haven't got air force. They haven't got a navy to shoot bloody missiles in or whatever. I mean, it's just.
Well,
sorry. We could go on when you mentioned Trump and Clinton. We could go on the election. I know it happened a month ago now, but we hear Trump talking about ISIS. And that's a bit of a put off. People say, "Oh, of course he's going to say that," but wait till when he gets in, then he'll tell us it's crap. He can't go out and say, "Oh, ISIS is BS," and all the Americans will laugh at him. But we could just quickly go on to the election because, if you want.
Well, I'm just going to say that we'll know for sure that the 6-day battle of Mosul is a load of BS when Hollywood brings out a blockbuster and it's got Matt Damon in it, right? Then we know, okay, that's it. This has been scripted from start to finish. And yeah, let's talk about Trump. But before we go there, have you seen the film called South Side with You?
I don't really watch much TV or movies.
Well, you have to watch this because this is the love affair between Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. It's absolute genius.
Michelle?
Yeah,
Who's Michelle?
Well, Michelle
Michael
was this lovely young lady, black lady, who was a lawyer who bumped into Barack. They had a date. They fell secretly in love, and then they had 2 beautiful children. This is what I mean. Hollywood BS.
You mean Michael Johnson?
I am talking about Michael, that's right.
Michael Johnson.
Because Barak is homosexual and Michael's his boyfriend, and that's the game.
And the children, I just made a video last week on it. It was an old video where apparently the 2 children were from, I forget their names, a couple, off the top of my head, and they're both great friends with the Obamas, and they're part of his administration. This is Anita Blanchard. Okay, there they are. That's the supposed doctor who delivered the two children, and that's the husband, Martin Nesbitt. Just want to show you if there's any pictures with Obama here. Yeah, there they are. Oh, they've got Obama's pictures here for some reason. There's this one here. We got Obama with Anita Blanchard. So they're good friends. So we got Obama here sharing something with Anita Blanchard here. They're obviously good buddies. There's a good shot of Michael. By God, I wish I had them arms and shoulders, like I said. So let's go now to the husband. There's Martin Nesbitt. And here he is. Guess who's walking down the beach with? Good old friend Obama. Here we go once again. Obama's best friend. So they're very close, obviously. Very, very close. There they are, playing golf together. Anyway, we could tell that Mr. Nesbitt and Blanchard are very close, but how close? So let's just go back to the first Obama's kids, I think not images that I showed. I'm going to show you the first image that we see here. See that one there? I'm going to open that and show you what what that is. Shock horror. Okay. There's Martin Nesbitt and there's Anita Blanchard. Have a look at the resemblance between this one and here. 100% that is the father of this daughter. 100%. Have a look. And have a look at the other side. Mother and daughter. Mother and Sasha. I mean, they are the regular parents. Not regular. They are the real parents of these two. It says here, Obama's kids. I think not. Obama, friends and supporters, Martin Nesbitt and Anita Blanchard lent their children out to cover the Obamas' inability to have children. So, they lent them out. What do? They had children and says, yeah, you can have these two children. Make out to the world that you've actually brought up these two children and that you're a loving couple and a husband and wife couple. I'm sorry, but that is a perfect resemblance there. That is a perfect resemblance there. You might say that's a perfect resemblance. I don't think so. You might say that's a perfect resemblance. I don't think so. It's 100% that this guy is a tranny. And like I said, we don't have to even worry about even talking about this guy. He's complete 100% homosexual. And just look at those hands once again. Oh, by God. They are hands like... Oh, I've never seen a woman with hands like that. Never, never, never. Sorry, Michael. You've been busted again. If anyone's got any doubts that, that this woman actually, had these two children with this homosexual here, I'm sorry. No way known. This is a man. This is a tranny. And, what else do we have to show you to prove? This is 100% that these are their parents. These are these two kids' parents. Apparently, the two children were from, I forget their names, a couple, off the top of my head, and they're both great friends with the Obamas, and they're part of his administration. And the woman apparently was supposedly gave birth to the two children. Delivered the two children supposedly for Michael. But they look spit and image. The two children look spit and image of these two people. Nothing like Barry and Michael. So people say they were adopted. They were probably just passed on. Who knows? But definitely not their children. Definitely not their children. And as you say, you hardly ever see them. like Chelsea Clinton. It's virtually every time you see the Clinton, she's there, but you don't see the two. What's their name? Sasha and Malia. I asked Robin how I see the world. Do you know what their names are? He had no idea. And he said you could probably ask 50% or more of Americans. They would not know the names of their children because you never see them. And so
no, they're kept out of the spotlight for sure.
So anyway, it finally, oh, not finally. I've said all along that there's going to be some big thing happening before the inauguration. I said 8 years ago when Obama came in, they're going to use him somehow, and there could be some sort of assassination attempt. He'll be the last president before the New World Order, whether he becomes a dictator, whatever, I don't know. But now it's looking more likely that they could assassinate Trump or pretend to assassinate Trump, because either way, it's just going to be a fake.
It's just fake. Yeah, that's right. Trump's in it up to his eyeballs, mate.
He is. The establishment who've controlled us for how many hundreds of years aren't all of a sudden going to let a good Samaritan like Trump come in and just undo everything, the control they've got on the planet just like that. You've got to be joking me. And the thing about it, so many truth movement, whatever you want to call it, so many people are saying, yeah, it's great that Trump's in it. But everyone says, oh, thank God it's not Hillary. Thank God it's not Hillary. But, yeah, Trump, give him a chance. I mean, it's not going to happen. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. But wouldn't matter if it was Hillary or Trump. People are going to wake up and realise Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, Osama bin Laden, George Bush, they don't make one single decision on anything. They're just bloody a face, a mouthpiece. You think Obama knows, this and this, I'm going to make this big decision on this, or George Bush, I'm going to make we'll attack Iraq, next week. I just think it's a good idea, They don't make any decision. So the fact that Hillary would have started World War III next week, Hillary wouldn't have started World War III. If they want to start World War III, the whoever controls the shadow government, whatever, the evil who control us, they'll start World War III. Clinton's not going to start World War III. And this Trump is good friends with Putin, so it's really good. There won't be any fighting with Russia. That's really good, It's all just a game, mate. It's all just a game.
Well, that's right, because Putin's in it as well, right?
Of course he's in it. And the funny thing, notice that Trump throughout the debates, he said, it's rigged. It's rigged. Elections are rigged. We're going, yeah, he's saying the right thing. It turned out it was rigged because they rigged it for him to get in.
That's
they
right.
did a flip-flop with Clinton. I don't know if this was a last-minute change or there was a change, but it was obvious. People still think, Trump was elected. No one's elected. They were all selected. There's no way knowing the last 7 states all of a sudden went to Trump. I mean, there was the first half of the day I was watching it, there was no betting. It was just Clinton was going to get in, and everyone saying Clinton, and all of a sudden, like a switch, the odds of whoever virtually went even Stevens, it all of a sudden was just Trump. It's just like it just turned over, in the last 7, 8 states, which were Democratic states, by the way, which all voted for Obama in the last 2 elections, and Obama's approval rate's still 65%. Americans still love him, God knows why. So there's no way that those states should have turned against the Democrats. There's no way, no. It's amazing. And all of a sudden, just the count of the votes so quickly, I couldn't believe that. And it was just, just like that. It was determined overnight, that night. It just didn't seem right to me. And even when Trump came out with his family, he goes, he clapped, the little clap he was given. He wasn't shocked or surprised. It was like he knew. It was all prepared. He knew, and even in his speech, you could tell there was no emotion like this is a great shock. And all the media was so, oh my God, I can't believe this. They were all in it as well. They knew. They were showing CNN with Anderson Cooper with a few people there, and They knew that it was going to be Trump. They made out, oh, this is a big shock, you know. And all the world leaders next day, oh, this is a big shock. Oh, yeah, ball dust. They all knew. Yeah, sorry.
No, that's right. I call it Pollywood, Hollywood for ugly people, politics. You know, it's an absolute scam from start to finish. There's no way you can get around it. Everyone, you think you're voting Democrat or Republican in the US, government always gets in because they back both sides.
And always, it's never a third term for the Democrats or Republicans. So they just swap after 1 or 2 terms. They always change around. You can't have this, you know.
What will be interesting to see if Trump actually gets inaugurated, right? That's in, I don't know, January or Feb, I can't remember, it's quite soon, because, you know, there's the whole recount thing going on. But it doesn't make any difference, kids. Lo and behold, it makes no difference whatsoever. We're getting screwed, left, right, or centre. We're getting screwed by the bankers, and they're predominantly Jewish, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I'm allowed to talk about Jews, sorry.
Yeah, we're not. No, they're so clever that it's not the Jewish people, but the Zionists, the Khazar Jews, whatever you want to call them. But they've created this thing in society that you're not allowed to talk about the Jews and how bad they are. You know, you're not allowed to do it. You're regarded as anti-Semitic. How dare you talk about the Jews? And I've got some really good friends who are Jewish. In fact, we've both got one good friend called DW, deep inside the rabbit hole, who is clearly Jewish, and he's a good lad.
He's a shill.
Apart from being a shill, but that's not his fault because he's Jewish. He's a New York Jew, but he's a good lad. And if you haven't checked out deepinsidetherabbithole.com, go and do it now.
No, don't. He's a shill.
So
I won't go near him.
Yeah. You know, you've got some good friends in the alternative media, PK. Who are they?
The guy you just mentioned. He's a shill. We're all shills. Didn't you know we're all shills? I'm a shill. Everyone's a shill. There's not one single person in this truth movement that's not a shill. Everyone that I know has been labelled a shill. Max Egan, David Icke, David Weiss, Russian Vids, me, everyone. Everyone's a shill. If you don't agree, if someone doesn't agree 100% with you, you're labelled as a shill. They might agree with 99% of what you do, but if you differ on 1%, all of a sudden you're a shill. If I like David Icke, sorry, I'm a shill. David Weiss, he's gone all flat earth, definitely a shill. It's just crazy. There's not one single person in the truth movement that's genuine, apparently. Everyone's being paid by the government.
I wish I was.
How good is that?
Come on.
You're not getting paid?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'll send you some of mine.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't mind. Oh, yeah, I wouldn't mind with that. But
half of 0-0, mate.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
I think that man will be president of the United States right about the time that spaceships come down filled with dinosaurs and red capes.
On that note, Tom.
Take it from me. How about that?
Yes, Tom. Please.
Houston, we have a problem.
I think that makes 0. But there's some good information out there. The work that you're doing about the chemtrails, about ISIS, about the hoaxes that are taking place. Especially, I came across you firstly about the Paris hoax, and that was just amazing, really.
Paris hoax, 130 killed, was it? I love that, how they had a football stadium. That's where it all started. 70,000 people there, and President Hollande. Wouldn't you believe it? The only soccer match he's ever been to in his life just happened to be there. And ISIS. You know how clever you said they were? They're the dumbest. Oh, I nearly swore, sorry. they're the dumbest idiots on this planet, because 3 of them rolled up to the football stadium, didn't think about going inside, just stood outside, and one said, "Oh, sorry, the last minute, I ain't going to blow myself up, even though my brother's going to blow himself up. No, I don't like that idea." So 2 of them blew themselves up. The casualty toll at the football stadium, guess what it was? Was 2 ISIS suicide bombers, and that was it.
I know.
And that was a terrorist attack. So if I was a terrorist, ISIS terrorist, any terrorist, I'd go to Mr. Hollandi and go within, a bombing distance from him. Boom! There's a target I wanted to get, but no, there was no one near him. So luckily he was, the French people, nearly killed our president. But this guy, that's a last minute change of heart, he decided he'll go with his other mates and do a tour through the streets of Paris and just shoot so many people at so many cafes. Oh, meanwhile, the Bataclan as well. Let's just do a tour of Paris and just, shoot a few people sitting outside cafes. But the only vision we got of that was no other camera vision of the football stadium, of the Bataclan. Amazing about the Bataclan. No security cameras there. None of the cafes, except for one. The smallest, little pissiest one on the corner. Oh, my memory's gone. It was a pizza place. It had 3 security cameras inside, and we just happened to get vision of that. We just happened to see some guy outside, looks like a terrorist, shooting. And we see all this smoke going everywhere, but there's no bullet holes through the window. Amazingly, that. But, get this, there's no security cameras outside. Don't know why. Why would you just have them inside? You'd want to know what's going on outside. People might have a free feed and do a runner. Isn't that the idea of the cameras? But anyway, this guy, everyone ducked, supposedly, that was sitting outside. And this guy comes up. You see this guy. Oh, he goes to shoot these 2 women. Can you believe it? The rifle didn't work all of a sudden. It got jammed. Can you believe that? Unbelievable. How lucky were these 2? So he just decided to walk away. These 2 women get up straight away and run. I wouldn't be running for starters, but they did. Then you see him hop in a car, and he goes along to the next cafe. And then finally he gets captured somewhere. Did he get captured in Belgium or somewhere? I don't know where. Absolute BS. No one died. And we got this Aussie girl, supposedly the Bataclan, just happened to be from Aussie, was staying in Germany, just happened to be in Paris, just happened to get tickets off the internet that day. And the initial story says she was 3 rows from the stage and got shot in the buttocks. But then another story was she was outside, still in the queue when the shooting happened. So how can you be both? How can you get that story so wrong? And, of course, she got the phone calls from the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister, like she's a hero. And she was interviewed on 60 Minutes. Absolute hogwash. But anyway, there's not only that, there's a niche truck you got to laugh at, There's so many. Look, the things that happen in America, I just can't take it. These things have happened the last few days. I've had it. I just can't keep up with it. People expect me to make, videos of this and this shooting. Well, we know, they're probably all hoaxes, but you can't spend the rest of your life making bloody videos on every bloody hoax in America. In Australia, we're the poor man's country of terrorism. The thing is, what's happening here, I don't know if you know, we've sort of followed on in the last couple of years. This is a lot of our budget spent on counter-terrorism, like $1.5 billion. I don't know where that money's going, what jobs are created. There's no terrorism here. There's no terrorism. But what they do, they're so smart, they all of a sudden said, oh, this attack was thwarted, and another one was thwarted. There was going to be an attack, always going to be on a special day like Anzac Day, Mother's Day, whatever. They always thwart them now. That's to give the impression that all that money's going to good use and the police and the government are really caring for you. They're the terrorists. There's no such thing as terrorism, but they're making out, oh, we're so good, just get on with your daily life. We're looking after you. And it always seems to be young people, we never see their names because if they're under 18, they're not obliged to give their names. You never see them on trial or anything. Just like the Boston supposed bomber who was on this trial that we saw these images of him. Someone's there drawing images of him. Every image looked different. One image he looks like Abraham Lincoln, then the other one he looks like bloody George Bush. I mean, who's paying?
It's
just
true.
take a photo of
It's
this
true.
guy, for God's sake. We don't want some artist drawing pictures. But we happen to see O.J. Simpson's trial live on TV, but not the Boston bomber.
Well, apparently he lost his tongue. Rumours have it that during some of the processes, his tongue got cut out, so he couldn't talk anymore. That was something that I heard. Just going back to the Paris attack at the football ground, apparently the terrorists forgot their tickets to get in. So
I forgot.
Yeah,
but they had their passports.
They had their passports. That's right. Who's the guy? Is it Mark? What's the guy? Malcolm Wells. Who's the guy who got Mason Wells. I'd love to interview Mason Wells because he's the only man I know ever who's been blown up 3 times in 3 separate countries by ISIS. He's the unluckiest Jewish guy I've ever known. The poor lad, he's had a horror shocker.
You don't want to go near him. He attracts bombs. You don't want to. He attracts ISIS terrorists. So you don't want to go near this guy. He was the one that had the mummy mask, supposedly in Belgium. He's laying in hospital with the mummy mask. Absolute freaking joke with the turnip bloody hair. Within 2 days, he's in Utah hospital, being visited by Elder H. Oakes. Letter H. Oakes. Hoax. Elder Hoax. Are you kidding me? He's there, but yet, we've got some clown, an American, who got hit by the truck in Nice, mind you. He just happens to have an apartment on that Esplanade, whatever. Him, his wife, and I think it was a daughter, were there on vacation, whatever, fairly Jews they were actually. She spotted the truck coming and yelled out to him, "Look out," whatever his name is, "there's a truck." So he turns around and he thought, "Oh my God, which way do I jump, left or right?" He does a dive to the right. I think it was right, left, right, like Superman, flying through the air, and the truck just happens to hit one of his legs, not the other one, right? How it hits one and not the other is beyond me. He's in hospital for 3 months in a Nice hospital with fractures to his leg. You're telling me he's in a Nice hospital with a fractured leg, and yet Mr. Mummy Man is out of a Belgium hospital in Utah within days with 3rd-degree burns? I mean, what's going on here? What? And get this, that Nice hospital apparently had 300 people that night that were hit by a truck. 300 people they looked after that night. What hospital in the world would have room for 300 patients in a night? I mean, virtually 95% of beds are taken in a hospital. How many people can look after 300 people that are rushed in? How many people? How many surgeons are there? And you're telling me 300 people were in that hospital that night? Sorry, not one single person was hit by a truck. I want to point out to you, one of the cleverest things they do in all these hoaxes, what they do is they show you the before image, and I'll use the classic example of the Nice truck. You've got Richard Gutjahr. You know Richard Gutjahr?
Yeah, I know. You've had a real head-to-head with him, haven't you?
Yeah, I think I've quietened him down a bit, actually, because he's a bit... I don't know where he is now, but he removed my channel, but that's another issue. But he just happened to be on a balcony filming this truck. Just perfectly, the truck stopped in front of him, even though this clown that I just mentioned said the truck was going 70 miles per hour when it hit him. 70 miles per hour. But this truck just happened to stop where Richard Gutjahr was filming, and some clown on a motorbike, how he ever got in is beyond me, decided to try to jump on the truck. It's so fictitious. I mean, this truck supposedly, I heard, was allowed in because he said he was delivering ice creams. Ice creams at 11 p.m. at night, mind you. No traffic was allowed in if they let this truck in. But Goodyear filmed this truck. We all familiar with the image, all right? We see this truck, and it was sped up because we see people chasing it, and they run 10 times as fast as well, the same distance behind the truck. But we never see it hit any people, mind you, because it disappears in the trees. But then they show us these mummies and mannequins laying on the ground, supposedly dead bodies. There's only about 12 of them, mind you, even though 380 was supposedly hit. There's about 12 mummies. So what they do, there's your before and your after, truck, bodies. The truck must have hit those bodies. That's what it is. Same here. We got this bullshit Minto stabbing where a 22-year-old supposes ISIS with a knife supposedly stabbed this 59-year-old walking in the streets, suburb of Sydney. We see the security camera of this bozo walking down the street. Then we see this other camera showing him running away from this ISIS guy after he supposedly slashed his punctured lung, his whatever. 59-year-old, fat, unhealthy guy outruns the 22-year-old martial arts over 100 metres. Can you believe that? But anyway, we never see the actual stabbing, but we see the before and the after. We put them together. They all go like that. They don't have to show us the actual event. It's just like in Paris.
Well, they can't because there isn't an actual event, is there?
There isn't.
So it's an impossible.
There isn't.
And that's going back to your earlier statement that currently this world, the society that we live in is based on fear. They want us living in fear because we're much more manageable, aren't we?
It's what's all about, the four-letter F word. And people might think it's the other one, but it's F-E-A-R. Because when we fear, we look to the government to help us. But the problem with that is the government doesn't give two shits about us. They're not there to help us. They're there to appease their masters. We're the last, as Kissinger says, you know, the army. Who would want to join the military, honestly? Kissinger, after hearing Kissinger say, you're only useless fodder. You're there, useless fodder to fight our wars. And it's just absolutely idiot. Who would want to join the military? And that's what sickens me. But Australia, America, especially America, even Britain, it's all about, they call it defence. Even that is laughable. It's not defence. Have a look at America. I'll ask you the question. I'll give you the question. How many countries have China bombed in the last 60 years since the World War II?
I don't know. It would be very small. It would either be 0 or maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah, but they're the evil, apparently, aren't they?
Oh, they're the big threat. That's correct. Yeah, they're
baddies. But America are the goodies. They're the peacekeepers, all right?
Well, hang on.
How many countries have they...
Hang on. Sorry. America has only been involved in 80 conflicts since the Second World War.
But they're the goodies, I heard. Someone told me they're the peacemakers. Have I got something wrong here?
Well, hang on. The United Nations are the peacekeeping force. That's right. That's right. They're here to keep us safe and secure. But yeah, everything's backwards, Peakay. Everything is backwards.
Yeah.
That's why your work is so important, right? Because unless there's people like you who are brave enough to step out and actually speak the truth and take the flak for doing so, we're going to be indoctrinated, and before we know it, our children are going to be walking zombies because the future isn't bright. You know, the future is the governments will control the birthing rights, and human beings will be asexual, right? Just more computer than human. And for me, and I want to kind of bring you to this point, for me, this is a spiritual war that's taking place. I'm quite a spiritual character, Peaky, because I'm a recovering alcoholic and drug addict, right? And it goes hand in hand. But for me, this is a spiritual war between good and evil. What would you say about that?
I wouldn't class myself as spiritual, and I'm just a nobody, to be honest. And like I said, I originally started doing my work on chemtrails. I had no idea I was going to end up doing what I'm doing, which is I don't really know anything. I don't know the script. Like, none of us know the script. It's just an opinion we all have. There's a lot of egos on YouTube, whatever. A lot of people want to put out the info out there, the first to put it out, and there's a lot of infighting and, like I said, to start, this shield thing. It just, I can't take this shield garbage. I mean, like I said, the thing is, the planet, like you said, the majority are walking zombies, and it's just so hard once you become awake. And I sometimes think, geez, God, I wish I wasn't awake. And my life's changed completely. I look at things so differently, When I say look at things differently, when I meet people, talk to people, it's not like it used to be. I talk in a different way. I don't, make jokes, or it's virtually serious stuff all the time. It's like I want to put out, what I know about things. It's just I can't help myself. It's either something about global warming or chemtrails or anything that's going on, ISIS. And people say to me, I meet new people, you're depressing. You're very depressing. I said, can't you just be happy? I said, I'm sorry, I'm not depressing. I am just trying to pass on, tell you that we live in an enslavement, and it's,
that's right.
You've got your head up your ass, and you need to get it out. I want to be happy. I'm sure that's why I do this. I want freedom, and we don't have a freedom. We've got no idea what freedom is like. People believe we live in a democracy and freedom. None of the sort. We don't live in the freedom. We can't imagine what freedom it would be. Hopefully one day we do have freedom, but I'll give a perfect example. In Australia, we're supposedly in a democracy, but we get fined if we don't vote. What sort of shit's that? That's not democracy. Like I said, it's hard to... I can't change now. I just can't say, no, bugger it, I give up. So many times I go to bed and say, oh, that's it, I can't do this anymore. I'm hitting my head against the wall. I'm even having fights with my family. I have fights with, members of my family about this. And, even my daughter, she doesn't want to know about it. My son, thankfully, he's clued up on all this, but, it's just so hard. Like I said, I'm a nobody. The thing is, people have to look in the mirror. They have to look in the mirror and have a hard look at themselves. What the trouble is, people are looking for a saviour, whoever it might be.
Yeah, Jesus, God, Trump.
Or David Icke.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not a saviour. We all have to save ourselves. It's all an individual thing. We all have to be a part of it. Look in the mirror and say to yourself, what can I do to change things in some way, people, what, bugs me is the people who know. I can guarantee you can ask 100 people at the shopping centre tomorrow, do you think the government and media lie? 99% will say, yeah, of course they do. Then you can ask them, but how come you watch the news every night and believe everything they say? And if I give you a DVD about this, you'll throw it away and say that's garbage because you got it off the internet. It's the people who know that there's something wrong but say nothing. They're the problem, more so than the zombies, because we were all zombies. I don't know when you woke up. I woke up 10 years ago. For 50-odd years, I was a sheeple. I believed in 9/11. I believed in everything.
I'm the same.
But look at what hope we got. JFK was 63 years ago. And we still believe the official story. It's absurd. The moon landing, 47 years ago. How in God's name can anyone believe in that rubbish? And we still do. 9/11's been 15 years. How can anyone possibly believe that planes, 16 nobodies that never flew a plane in their lives, just happened to take over 4 planes at the same time, all 100% precision, take over and fly planes, just like that, into 2 twin towers, and not only that, into the most highly guarded building on this planet. And just so happens on that day, they had an air defence drill where all the fighter jets, interceptor jets, were bloody in Canada. the fact is there were no planes. We know that. Anyone that thinks there were planes on that day is brain dead. But I guarantee 75% of Americans believe there were planes, and that caused these buildings to come down. Just have a look at the buildings. How can two buildings come down, bottom down, and the third one at 5:20 comes down bottom up?
More to the point, there were 7 buildings that came down on that day.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
But people think there were just 2.
Building 7, amazing how Silverstein said, let's pull it. And within 2 hours, the greatest explosion experts in the history of this planet just happened to set up, comes down within 2 hours, a job that would normally take 2 weeks or more for a 47-story building. But Larry said, pull it, boys. Within 2 hours, it comes down. I mean, what's the world thinking? I mean, trouble is, half the people in America don't even know about World Trade Center 7, let alone 6, 5, 4, 3. It's just absurd. What are these people thinking? Like I said, they watch the news and believe everything that comes out of
Peakay. That's why your work is so important, right? So
not my work.
Don't lose faith. Keep it up, my friend. And you're helping me and others. And you know what? We're in this together, mate. We're in this together, because who knows where they're going to start rounding us up and exterminating us. Who knows what's going to happen next? But
I don't want to be doomsayer, but I've got a terrible feeling. Like I said before the inauguration, as you know, if you don't know, ISIS has been very quiet for some reason. Remember the Olympic Games? They were very quiet. How good of them? Let's just keep I don't call them Olympic Games. I call it the globalist circus. That's all that is. But then, soon as that was finished, they had a Turkey event. That was really the last supposed ISIS event. Why, throughout the presidential election, were they quiet? You'd think they would have want to, do some things to keep their name going, Or maybe that's why they started this Mosul take back garbage to make it look like they're too busy trying to fight for ISIS. All scripted. But they've been very quiet, and I don't want to say it, but there could be another 9/11 or worse happening in the next 2 months. There's something they've reached, I think, the point where they just can't keep pulling off these hoaxes. It's just absurd. Unless these idiots that control us, they just sit back and they play it like a game. They use these things as a game to mock us, because it's so stupid how people can't see the garbage like we can. It's not hard to see that trucks didn't hit 380 people, or Paris, whatever. It's not hard to see, but people can't see it. And the powers that be, they just sit back and laugh at us. How stupid are the people on this planet? They must be thinking. We can make up anything and not believe it.
Peaky, listen, we've been dumbed down for centuries, right? And it's in our genes to be asleep. My parents before me were fast asleep. They had no idea. My father once told me that son, don't worry about your pension. Your pension's not going to be worth anything in the future. You got to work another way out of doing it, right? But people are asleep because they're indoctrinated by a frequency that's transmitted by your iPhone, by the TV, by a computer, by all the radiation that's around us. And so it's not our fault that we are this stupid, in fact. However, it is our fault, as you say, that when we realise what's going on, that we do not take action. Because this is not only our lives, but it's the lives of our children and our children's children. Because if we don't do something today, they're not going to have an option of anything other than imprisonment. But here we are, PK. We're coming to the end of this interview. Tell me, how can people get in contact with you? How can people support what you're doing? How can people see your work?
Support what I'm doing. All right. I don't really need support. I don't want to go on this, but I'm thankful for the people who watch my videos, and I can't do most of the things I do without their support, but that's another thing. I've got 2 channels. I've got PK Space Truth, 2 words, PK Truth. I do have a PK 22, which is an older channel, which I haven't gone near for over 6 months. It's like a backup. But I've got PK Boston, PK Space Boston. And there's a reason why I had Boston separate, because I've had my channel removed twice, and I've got near 200 videos on Boston. And it's no fun re-uploading videos, I'm telling you. And I wanted to keep that separate because I pride myself in the work I did on Boston. I'll probably go down, as being one of the leaders in exposing Boston. I hope that something like the Boston channel can wake up people to that, because it only needs to, for one of these major hoaxes to be exposed. I mean, Sandy Hook, Boston, 9/11, or go the others, but the big three at Boston, Sandy Hook, 9/11, but they're all connected. You connect the dots. All these events just don't happen separately. They're all connected in a way. And if the work I did on Boston, if people have the time to look at the videos I've made on there, if you cannot see how that wasn't 100% BS, staged with crisis actors, many prior amputees, it's amazing how the only injuries were legs being amputated, no arms, no head, just legs, because it's symbolic. It's a marathon race. The marathon race. You had a woman, a ballet dancer, supposedly lost a leg. She never had a leg. She couldn't dance because she lost a leg. It's all, goes to that. We had, I call them the trouser bomb, because it shredded trousers, but the legs were fine. How can a bomb just shred pants completely and leave the legs fine, so, not an injury on his leg? And that's why I wanted Boston to be separate. And I have not gone to my Boston channel for like many months. There's a lot of videos I still want to put up. I just don't have time. But hopefully people can see my work at Boston. And Peakay Truth is basically everything else. When I see something, I make a video on it. Hopefully it could wake people up. I mean, that's the idea. I get pleasure when people make comments on my videos saying, "Oh, thanks, PK, you woke me up last year when I saw your Boston video." And that's what gives me the pleasure. It makes me do what I do, It's not so much the people who awaken. I guarantee 95% of my subs are people who have been awakened a while, and I'm just preaching to the, what do you say? Preaching to the, the already awakened.
Preaching to the converted.
Yeah, exactly. It's the ones that I hopefully, it could be just 10, 20, 30, whatever. I don't, small number, but they're the ones that make me, really feel like I'm doing something good. Like I said, I'm a nobody. There should be more people doing, what I'm doing, and we all got to get in this together, like you say, because it's not going to take one or two people, messiahs, whatever, leaders to change things. It's everyone. Everyone. It has to be a little bit from everyone. There's 7 billion of us, by God. 7 billion of us give, what, 1 million people? A million evil psychopaths. We give them the power to control us for how many centuries? I find that absurd. And people say the one thing that really irks me, "Oh, we can't do anything about it." How many times I've heard that from people? "Oh, we can't do anything about it." "Oh, it just
drives me
don't worry
insane.
about it. We can't do anything about it." I cannot stand that. We can't do anything about it. "Oh, what are you doing about it?" What are you doing? "Oh, I'm making videos. I, tell people about what I know. I'm planting seeds in people's heads. What can we do about it?" I don't know.
Well, we're doing something.
We'll
we're doing something about it today, PK, and that's the most important thing, because when we energize the good side of this universe, I believe that good will come from it. But we are coming to the end of this interview. I want to thank you for your time, your insight, and your good humor. So thank you very much for being my first Australian guest on Truth is Stranger Than Fiction. And is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with before we say good night, Dingo?
Dingo. I've never seen a dingo, actually. Okay. Thanks for having me on, Herschel. It's been a pleasure. Few laughs there. We can't always be serious. I mean, that's why, people like my work because I joke around a bit. I cuss a little bit. That's my passion, but I like to laugh at them. Like I said, they laugh at us, how stupid we are to believe these things. I like to laugh back at them. That's why my videos, even the Mosul stuff, I just, go through vision videos and I just laugh back at them. And that's what we got to do. Let's laugh back at them, Anyway, thanks for having me on. I'd love to come on again and do another show. And it's getting close to Christmas.
Yeah, happy Christmas to you, bud.
Think about Christmas.
I don't know what you think about
Christmas. Santa, yeah, okay. I mean,
what a shenanigans.
You know what I love? I don't love about it. How children, every child ever born, is brought up to believe in Santa, and it must come to them as a shock sometime in their lives when they find out Santa's not real. But I'm sure there still are people, even our age, who believe in Santa. I'm sure there are. But what a shock to the system when they find out that Santa isn't real. I mean,
Santa,
why do they do that?
Yeah, Santa, the Easter Bunny, the story of Jesus Christ being crucified, and every single story we've ever heard has actually been false, in my opinion, sir.
I believe Christmas. All right, Christmas should just be a family gathering. You get together, that's it. But what it is just corporations, major retail stores to throw out rubbish for people to buy. 90% of stuff people buy and give to their family, friends, whatever, is garbage. But it makes billions and billions of dollars for the major corporations and retailers. That is the number one thing that Christmas is about.
Christmas is about money, and the money is controlled by a small group of Jewish people, and money isn't real.
Bloody gold. Bloody